The fate of human civilization now rested on Pierce's shoulders. He was determined to teach the aliens never to touch humanity again. Commander Ethan Steele oversaw the elite warriors aboard Dauntless. Intelligence confirmed the alien Ginari's intent to target Earth's resources and population for enslavement. Diplomacy failed. Invasion was imminent. Pierce readied his soldiers with energy weapons and neural disruptors for inflicting massive enemy casualties. Humanity teetered on the brink. Failure ensured extermination or enslavement at the hands of the vast Ginari war machine. Time was short. Steele recalled prior hostile encounters, a cold dread creeping into his chest. Could he prepare his forces in time? Humanity's survival now depended on it. The Ginari ships cut across space, a reminder to Commander Ethan Steele that time had run out. He stood at the helm of the Dauntless, fierce determination in his eyes. Behind him, Earth's defending fleet fell into place, each ship hastily equipped with the best human tech. The empty space near the moon turned into a chaotic battlefield as the first Ginari ships came in range. Lasers sliced through the vacuum, carving metal hulls. Human ships dodged and weaved unpredictably. Each triumph came with the bitter loss of friends. Their ships exploded silently, stars put out too early. Amid the chaos, the Dauntless comms officer called, Pierce's voice frantic. "Commander, we intercepted a Ginari message. They think we'll be easy to beat." Pierce's jaw clenched as he took in the news. His determination hardened. "Let's show them they're wrong," he said. The battle worsened as the Ginari revealed a weapon, shooting energy pulses at human ships. The Dauntless shuddered, lights flickering. The crew plunged into semi-darkness around them. Ships died, sitting still for the Ginari attack. "Engineering report," Pierce's voice boomed over comms. "Working on it, Commander," a rushed voice responded. The sound of clanging tools and urgent orders filled the air. Power returned, systems rebooted. The Dauntless surged back to life. Engineers on board cheered. Pierce didn't waste a second. "Target that weapon, full barrage now." His orders swift and exact. The Dauntless attacked under his command, a blast destroying the Ginari weapon, leaving it a tangle of metal and sparks. Freed from paralysis, humanity's fleet bore down on the Ginari fiercely. Ships spiraled through space, energy weapons cutting enemy armor as pilots pushed past exhaustion and fear. The Ginari, surprised by the humans' determination, lost numbers. Steele seized the chance, leading a team to storm a crippled Ginari destroyer. The metallic stench of burnt circuits filled the air as they fought corridor to corridor. Human fighters protected the Dauntless as it limped back to Earth with the remains of the fleet. Steele held the data core. Its secrets offered new tactics and hope. Back at Earth, alone in his quarters, Steele stood with the Ginari intel. It showed the enemy's weaknesses. "We'll be ready," he said confidently. "Humanity won't just make it. We'll win." In the dim light on the command deck, Commander Ethan Steele broke the alien encryption. He saw their plan to land in Earth cities. New York flashed red, the aliens' first target. Steele didn't celebrate beating them in space. Jaw clenched, he gave orders to the fleet. The ship Dauntless shook, hitting Earth's atmosphere from the bridge. Pierce surveyed New York below, steel smoke and streets ready for war. The aliens wanted the city. Earth would make it their graveyard. Drop ships spilled from Dauntless, sending elite troops to Manhattan's concrete. Boots on the ground, Steele saw alien pods land among skyscrapers, the aliens pouring out, their shells clicking on asphalt. Pierce clicked his comm. "Alpha Bravo, hit them and vanish. Don't try to hold ground, just hit hard." Vose crackled back, "Copy, Commander." The neural disruptor was new, untested until now. It looked like a normal gun, but its effects were different. Pierce's men fired it, and the aliens staggered. Coordination shot, humans seized the seconds to strike. The streets became chaotic. Soldiers appeared then disappeared after hitting the slowed aliens. The aliens, struggling to adapt, fired at shadows. Pierce moved with purpose toward the UN building, flag waving. Through the city under assault, his team stacked at the building corner, tools ready. They breached, clearing room by room, firing controlled bursts. The aliens inside were tough, but the humans knew their home. In a fallen conference room, they found a struggling alien, its armor corroded. Earth's microbes had seeped in. Steele swabbed a sample. Dauntless, analyze this now. The aliens' mission failed. Room by room, the humans pushed them out. A signal to New York, key positions fell next. Humans exploiting their new edge, The aliens were vulnerable after all. In the conquered command center skyline, wounded but defiant, Steele breathed the air of a city not broken. "This is just the start," he muttered. "We won't just survive. We'll win." The news spread fast. Every TV and radio showed humanity fighting back against the aliens. People around the world watched the footage of Earth's ships attacking the enemy fleet. It gave them hope, but the aliens changed their plan. Their huge dread hovered above Earth. The cold eyes of General Cra stared from the screens. His commands came in waves. His cannons blasted through Earth's defenses. Pierce and his crew on the Dauntless felt each hit. He watched his friends die under the alien guns, his heart aching. But he stayed strong. Even with fear on the bridge, Steele spoke. "Fly, hold the line. Remember what we fight for." His words brought the crew together. The Dauntless dove back into battle, dodging beams that could crack moons. On Earth, the soldiers stood firm, inspired by Pierce's courage. A new plan took shape. The Dauntless and allies swarmed the enemy supply lines. Ships danced and dodged in the chaos. The battle was brutal. Each lost ship burned into their minds. But they broke the enemy formations. One by one, two by three, alien ships exploded under their guns. Cut off from supplies, the alien ground forces failed. Their push slowed without support. Steele studied the enemy plans. He saw their march through the ruins of New York. Every available soldier gathered among the crumbling city. They stood with weapons ready to make history. They traded nods beneath broken skyscrapers. "This city will not fall," Steele said over comms. "But this is our ground. We'll hit them harder." Engineers rigged the bridges with bombs. Snipers took position in rubble. They waited, quiet as the dead. At Pierce's signal, troops fired disruptors, scattering the enemy ranks. The aliens stumbled with each step, shooting at ghosts. Above, Earth's pilots prepared the final blow to ground the aliens forever. Steele synchronized space and ground forces for a combined strike. Krax's forces struggled through the streets. Human fighters emerged from the dust and overwhelmed them. In the ruined city center, Steele stood victorious among his troops. He looked to the sky. "This is just the start," he said, ready for the next wave. And humanity answered with resilience. "We won't just survive. We'll win." Krax towered over his elite Ginari soldiers. He nodded and they charged into a trap. Explosions erupted as mines blew up under their feet, shredding metal and chitin. The blast sent shockwaves that ripped through the enemy lines. Human ground forces emerged with fury in their eyes and weapons in hand. They fired neural disruptors that sent waves of convulsing Ginari soldiers to the ground. Synaptic pathways fried. Ethan Steele watched from a hastily built command post. Maps glowed around him. Now he shouted into the radio. His soldiers pushed forward, cutting through the stunned Ginari with relentless force. Every human footstep on the shattered ground meant doom for the invaders. Pierce led a squad through debris towards a Ginari command tent. They blew open the entrance with breaching charges, flooding inside. Fingers flew across alien consoles as they accessed comm channels. Steele inputted false orders that sent the Ginari into chaos. In space, sleek scarred ships fired lasers and energy at Krax's looming dreadnought. Pilots maneuvered through debris, sweat on their heads. Their resolve turned fear into lethal focus. Cra realized the battle turned against him, snarling. He led a final desperate charge to New York's heart, but the humans were ahead. As his shuttle descended, anti-aircraft fire snared it, crashing it downtown. Pierce watched Krax stumble from the wreckage, soldiers in disarray. Ethan signaled, and troops sprang from hiding, weapons aimed at the Ginari. The firefight was fierce and short. Soon, Krax stood in chains, head bowed in defeat. Ethan accessed their comms, uniform torn and dusty. "To those still against us," he spoke with resilient human weight. "No, we will never yield. Earth is our home. We will defend it to our last breath." News of Krax's capture drained alien morale as they faltered. Humans advanced, reclaiming tarnished ground. Every street and building retaken marked a step towards impossible victory. In the ruins of a former battlefield, Steele stood among soldiers, eyes alight with unbreakable human spirit. Commander Ethan Steele stared at the chained form of General Krax. The alien antenna twitched with defiance and shock under the harsh light of the interrogation room. A cold metal table stood between them. The guards were gone. They were in human territory now. Steele had questions. "Your soldiers follow a code, right?" Steele leaned in, eyes locked on Krax. The alien snorted, "Honor is everything." Steele nodded slowly. "Honor keeps them in line. Without it, only chaos," Krax said with pride. Steele turned and spoke into his comm. "Announce everywhere we have Krax. Spread the news." Krax looked uncertain for the first time. Outside, the message played loudly. Ginari soldiers froze. Human fighters attacked the confused enemy. Morale sank. Small groups of aliens pulled back, fermenting. Pierce led his squad through debris-filled streets, boarding a captured alien ship. The crew moved fast, repurposing the vessel. Sensors locked onto the half-built warp gate above Earth. More aliens coming through meant bad news. It had to go. Engines firing, they reached the gate. Cloaked. They walked out in suits, magnetic boots on the gate's metal frame. Tools buzzed in hand. Silent nods of understanding passed between them. Explosives set, they retreated. At Pierce's nod, the gate exploded in the void. Fragments scattered, stopping the threat. Below, scared citizens now fought fiercely, homemade weapons joining military efforts, dancing together in resistance. Their determination matched the soldiers. They all had something to defend. From his vantage point, Steele saw a neighborhood force invaders to retreat, just as fierce as the professionals. Talk started as the tide turned. Krax sat relaxed on a secure video link. Pierce's voice followed, strong and clear. "We have your leader, but this can end. Return our people, and we'll treat Krax humanely." Stern but fair terms proposed. In exchange, they're prisoners for good treatment of Krax. Cornered by human tenacity and respect for their general, the aliens started giving in. Ships landed, trading human prisoners for peace. Weapons fell silent across battered cities. After Krax's capture, soldiers approached unarmed, hands raised. The image spread, showing the mercy of the underestimated humans. Pierce surveyed the damaged skyscrapers and exhausted, relieved faces. Rebuilding lay ahead, but today they had shown the galaxy the human spirit. "This is just the start," he whispered. "But it's a good one." Ethan was in the neutral room, a big empty steel box halfway between Earth and the Ginari. His boots stuck tight to the floor. He floated, but the magnets kept his feet down. The air was clean, no smell, just like the walls. They heard life support in the box made them go hum. The Empress was in the room with Ethan. Her shell shone under the bright lights. Her council stood around her, still like stone statues, black stone statues. Their eyes looked at Ethan. He couldn't tell what they thought. Their faces didn't move. Ethan looked right back. He beat their best on Earth. This was just another fight. "The Ginari leave Earth," he said, clear and even. "No conditions, no tricks. You help fix what you broke." The Empress shifted her shoulder shell, scraped soft. "Humans fought with honor," she said. His, but we can't leave with nothing." "You can take General Krax," Ethan said back. "That's it. The rest stays." The council looked around, clicked, and talked in their hard language. The Empress bowed her head. That meant respect to them. "We accept," she said softly. "Krax means much to us." Ethan nodded sharp. "Done." They left the room, less proud than before. On Earth, Ethan saw the crowd. Sun going down made long shadows. Faces showed anger and relief. Ships hummed behind, ready for the Ginari to go. Voices shouted from the people, "Why let them go?" One yelled, "Make them pay." Another cried. Ethan raised his hands up, asked for quiet. His clothes wore the fight stains, but he stood tall. "Revenge won't build our future," he said loud. "We get to rebuild, prepare. We fought to survive, not kill them all." The crowd talked soft. His words took root. Ethan looked past them at the broken skyline, at the ships leaving with the Ginari. "This is the start," he said. "A good one." The humans went away, some still mad, but most thought about his words as the Ginari ships left in the dusk. Their fire lit the sky. Earth looked inside now. Fighting was done. Now they'd heal and build together. Commander Ethan Steele stood stiff at the main console of the Dauntless. Red and blue flickered across the screen. The Ginari fleet was in chaos. His team talked fast, breaking down their alien signals. "The Empress is in trouble," a man said, eyes locked on the screen. "Radicals are moving against her. It's a coup." Steele felt cold and hard inside. If the radicals took over, Earth would face more danger. He had to act now, decisively, quickly, no hesitation. "Get Alpha Team ready. We move in 10, Steele said. his voice cutting through the room's tension. Minutes later, Alpha Team gathered in the hangar. Clad in dark suits, soldiers turned to blades by hard experience. No extra weight, just weapons, air tanks, and resolve. Steele checked his gear. His movements were mechanical and sure. Rescue mission, disable only, no deaths. We don't need them, he said. The soldiers nodded, faces hidden. Understanding the mission was a fast surgical strike, not a battle. Get in. Hit the flagship's control room. Get out, Steele reiterated. Their shuttle slipped free of the Dauntless, a predator stalking through the dark. It closed in on the wounded flagship, scarred by inner fighting. The enemy hangar yawned open, a crack in its armor. The human soldiers stormed the hangar, boots holding them to the deck. They spread out, disruptors ready. The Ginari were strong but confused, easy targets for Pierce's focus team. Room by room, they advanced, shots precise and targeted. Few Ginari fought back, tricked by the suit's friendly markings, a deceit planned by Pierce. Lies could be weapons too. The control room lay ahead. 2 soldiers set breaching charges. No countdown needed. Pierce's nod was the signal. The door blew inwards. Chaos followed. Inside, radical Ginari froze mid-command. Pierce's team didn't waste time with words. The disruptors ended the coup in a blur of control. A quick tap at the controls and Steele cut the flagship adrift, now harmless. The coup died without its head. The Empress hissed relief into the calm. Your debt is honored, Ethan Steele of Earth. Back on Earth, the Ginari fleet blinked out, drives lighting up the sky one last time. Silence fell, filled by a tired planet's exhale. The storm had passed. Steele returned to the rebuilding world, his mind always working amid repair and recovery. He spoke with leaders. His advice was clear, his plans detailed. We get stronger, we look ahead, we adapt, we prepare, he told them. His words carried weight. As Earth healed, Steele met with alien envoys in hushed rooms. They spoke of unity, of strength, of a shared future. A coalition sparked by humanity's resilience. Steele watched closely, stern. Earth had shone bright in the dark galaxy. More would come, but humanity stood ready, not for war, but for defiant survival. After the war, Earth changed fast. Broken cities and scarred lands healed. Workers cleared rubble. They made streets where craters had been and foundations where aliens had landed. Everywhere, workers scrapped Ginari ships to the bones. Scientists studied each wire and panel. Earth's tech surged ahead. Commander Ethan Steele oversaw the rebuilding in New York, steel rising into the sky again, machines bolting turrets to rooftops. Shields flickered over them during tests. The skyscrapers were fortresses now, sentries against threats from space. In dry dock, the Dauntless lay open like a patient on an operating table. Engineers worked in its guts. They installed Ginari engines, sleek and powerful. Alien turrets replaced the old gun mounts. On deck, the crew learned controls that responded to thoughts. Command promoted Ethan to admiral. Everyone took notice. Vid screens and billboards showed his face. Once dirt-smudged, now heroic. He embodied Earth's fight. His voice filled the airwaves, steady and firm. We need to keep our edge, Admiral Steele told recruits. Master these alien systems. Use them as our armor. But some resisted change. A politician pounded the table during a meeting. Close our borders, he shouted. Keep Earth human only. Ethan listened quietly but resolute. We can't fear the galaxy, Ethan said. Our destiny is among the stars. United, the shooting happened during a speech. A crack split the air. Panic erupted. Security tackled the shooter as he screamed purity rants. Terror firmed. They called themselves. Ethan's ear rang, but he stood firm. Together, we are strong, he declared. Our unity is strength. Later, Ethan walked among rising towers. He touched a cold turret. His eyes rose to the open sky. Just the beginning, he whispered. A good one. Black smoke rose up in columns against the sky outside the wrecked facility. Sirens wailed loud, chaos all over. Admiral Steele looked at the mess with cold, focused eyes. His gaze landed on the burnt ruins where the aliens worked. Terra Firma torched it all. They hated aliens that much. Steele turned back to the jeep. His security chief waited there, face like stone. Find them, he told her. The jeep kicked up red dirt, speeding off. Days passed. Pierce's spies dug hard for clues. The bites became places. The outback, so empty, hid their base well. Pierce's team wouldn't fail him. He knew it in his gut. When the sun set over the desert, the choppers flew in, silent. Steele strapped into one with his hand-picked team. No words needed. They knew the job. Boots hit the dirt fast. The guards dropped from stun blasts, controlled, efficient, classic Pierce. They blew the door and went in fast. Cool air inside, so different than the heat. Lights flickered on as they moved through, guns ready. Room by room, they swept it all. A small office held what Steele wanted: fleet plans, files, call logs, the guts of terra firma laid bare. They were deep inside a tumor, waiting to spread. The control room glowed with dots. Agents everywhere, ready to strike. Steele clenched his jaw tight. Now they had the names. The threat would die here. Deep inside, they found the leaders holed up, desperate in a bunker that stank like fear. Steele towered over them. They knew they'd lost. Weeks later, Steele spoke at the UN. Voices hushed. "We've beaten outsiders before," he said loud in the chamber. "But the enemy within needs our eyes on them." Delegates from the world over listened close as Steele laid it all out. The need for checks, for being alert as one planet. His call rang out, an echo of the war. "Beyond Earth, our strength is our bond to each other." He went on. "To the future together." Applause roared loud like thunder. Steele stood firm, a beacon through the storm. His action cemented Earth's next chapter. As the talks of unity began, Steele listened, wary but hopeful. In the dance between ideals, he would keep Earth vigilant, united. And so, the Admiral built peace, feared by foes, revered by friends. He'd kept Earth safe before. Now he would secure its future. Rubble still filled the streets. Workers climbed over buildings fallen to rubble, their machines grinding without stopping. The air smelled dusty and sharp as alien ships slid quietly across the sky, landing smoothly on the damaged airfield. Admiral Ethan Steele watched from his temporary command center, standing among crumbled defenses, tracking the alien ships as they arrived. The lead ship's door opened with a hiss, and 3 aliens stepped into the light. They walked toward Pierce, his team leading them over. Steele had his hands behind his back as they approached. "We have seen Earth's strength," one alien said in musical tones. The Pact would benefit from such power. Pierce studied their faces. He saw they were sincere. They spoke of a new threat. The Zara VDS consumed whole civilizations. The PD needed allies, and Earth could join them. Inside the dim council room, Steele faced Earth's leaders, a Vord hologram spinning over the table. "This is not a lie," Steele said, putting his palms flat on the cool table. "Together with the Pact, we are stronger." The leaders whispered. They were skeptical. Reaching into space again scared them. "If we stay alone," Steele went on, "we risk everything again." The leaders shared looks of doubt and necessity. They nodded, some firmly, some not. Days later, Ethan Steele stood in the Pact council chamber, his voice echoing off the walls. "We faced total destruction," he said, "but we survived. Earth wants to stand with you against all threats." Pierce told how humans showed courage against the Ginari attack, how they defended more than just Earth, the values they shared with the Pact. Noises of agreement filled the chamber in many languages. Hands, tentacles, and strange limbs waved approval. Earth would join the Pact. Back home, crowds lined the streets to welcome Ethan Pierce. Their cheers lifted his spirit. They held grateful signs, their faces showing hope for this new age. At the celebration's heart stood Pierce. He looked to the horizon where Earth's future now stretched among the stars. "This is just the start," he whispered to himself, a motto for the new era. The war room buzzed as Admiral Ethan Steele leaned on the console, red dots glowing where the Zara conquered. His people studied data about attacks. The details were unflinching. "Can't repeat history," Steele said, his fingers tapping a pattern. "Make a task force, analyze everything. I want plans." "Yes, sir," a lieutenant said. Her hands flew, sending orders. Weeks passed, then months. Soldiers trained with aliens. Dust rose as they marched. Commands cut through languages. They found rhythm. Steele watched as a tall Jurian showed grappling. Humans copied, nodding and learning. They shared rations after, despite looks. They bonded. The Ginari Empress arrived, her black ship gliding down. The hatch opened, and the Empress and guards emerged, first time on Earth. At the ceremony, Steele stood by her side. Cameras flashed. She gave a slim case. It clicked open, the energy shield humming inside. The crowd gasped. History made. Steele signed the treaty. Protests shouted, but cheers won. Back at the war room, engineers saw the device. Voices hummed with excitement. They tested shields on attacking phantom fleets. The shield pulsed and ships disintegrated. Cheering broke out. Steele spoke on screens worldwide, pushing the future, exploring, not conquering. Crowds listened to his plain words. "Earth is home," he said, pointing to a star map. "We'll reach out, plant flags, say we're here, we're ready, we'll stand together." People nodded, eyes to the sky. Silent stars now held promise. Providence sprawled on rocky land on a faraway world, domes and towers built by Earth showing people's strength and skill. Scientists and engineers worked together, sharing minds for progress. Soldiers walked the metal paths, boots loud in the quiet. The colony buzzed with humans at work. Ethan watched the energy shield around Providence, the Ginari technology protecting the alliance he had joined. Far from New York's battered streets, this was the new frontier for humans in space. Alerts flashed colors on the big screen. A Pact planet needed help. Ethan's fingers darted on the controls, responding fast. His team ran, boots heavy, voices urgent. Deadly sleek ships left dock, engines firing. They set course through the starry black space, folded around them. The jump was quick. Chaos met them as they arrived. Cities burned below on the Pact planet. Ships battled above, trails streaking the sky. VDS swarmed, relentless waves of ships and pulsing bioweapons hammering defenders. Ethan's eyes narrowed. His voice steeled in velvet as he commanded, "Engage!" The fleet surged forward. Tight tentacled allies lined up by human ships, eyes wide with relief. Lasers met living holes, fire against flesh. Ethan's fleet cut through the VDS like a scalpel. Ship after ship burst apart, spilling into the void. Energy lit the nothingness. Soundless explosions filled visors and screens. With a final push, they broke the Zara line. The retreating enemy fled in chaos. Cheers exploded in the fleet. The planets celebrated below. VDS vanished into cold space. They had won. Ethan's voice anchored them. "Secure the area, check their losses, check for survivors. We're not done." Among wreckage, Ethan floated, his PS moving him toward a dead Zara ship, surface shiny and wriggling. Tools in hand, he prodded free an undamaged part. "Dauntless, we've got something," he transmitted, breaths whispering in his helmet. Back on Providence, scientists and engineers swarmed the Zara tech. It squirmed in their grips, alive but controlled. Ethan oversaw every test and analysis. It healed itself, changed itself, a metaphor for humanity. His orders were clear. Learn from it, adapt it, make their strength ours. Respect for Ethan grew on Providence. Offers of alliance poured in. Ethan weighed each with care. Providence was the future, and Earth would meet it head-on. The door to the command center opened, and Admiral Ethan Steele walked in. On the controls, initiating the emergency protocols. Lights flashed red as security barriers sealed off the lab, isolating it from the rest of the facility. Ethan Pierce's mind raced with possibilities, his jaw set in determination. "What's happening?" he demanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. Colonel Harris, his old friend and trusted advisor, stepped forward, his expression grave. "It's a breach, sir," he reported, his tone urgent. "Someone's trying to access our research data. We're under attack." Ethan's eyes narrowed as he processed the information. "Find out who's behind this," he ordered, his voice firm. "We need to secure that data at all costs." Security personnel sprang into action, tracing the source of the breach and deploying countermeasures. Ethan watched the screens intently, his mind racing through possible scenarios. Minutes felt like hours as the tension mounted. Then, finally, a collective sigh of relief echoed through the command center as the breach was contained. The data remained secure, safeguarded against those who sought to exploit it. Ethan Steele stood tall amidst the chaos, his resolve unwavering. "We can't let our guard down," he said, his voice echoing with determination. "We must remain vigilant, united against any threat that seeks to undermine us." His words were met with nods of agreement, the tension in the room gradually easing. The crisis had been averted, but Ethan knew that the struggle for security and survival was far from over. As the command center buzzed with activity, Ethan Steele remained at his post, his gaze fixed on the screens before him. The weight of responsibility hung heavy on his shoulders, but he knew that as long as he stood firm, the coalition would endure. Beneath him, The once bustling streets now lay in ruin, a stark reminder of the devastation wrought by war. Ethan's gaze swept over the destruction, his mind heavy with the weight of responsibility. He had led his forces into battle, fought tooth and nail against overwhelming odds, and emerged victorious. But victory came at a cost, and now Ethan stood amidst the wreckage, grappling with the aftermath. The sound of distant sirens echoed through the city, a haunting reminder of the chaos that had engulfed this once vibrant metropolis. Ethan's jaw tightened as he surveyed the scene, his resolve unwavering despite the devastation. "We rebuild," he declared, his voice firm and resolute. "We honor the fallen by rebuilding what was lost, by forging a new future from the ashes of the old." His words echoed through the desolate streets, carrying a message of hope amidst the despair. Ethan knew that the road ahead would be long and arduous, but he was determined to see it through to the end. With a sense of purpose driving him forward, Ethan Steele turned and began to lead his people out of the ruins, towards a brighter tomorrow. For as long as he stood at the helm, he would guide them through the darkness, a beacon of hope in a galaxy torn apart by strife. The metal corridors, his boots echoing in the tense silence. He glanced at the prisoners, their alien features a stark reminder of the enemy they faced. Despite their defeat, he could see the flicker of defiance in their eyes, a reminder that the war was far from over. "We need information," Ethan said, his voice cutting through the stillness. "Where is the Vord stronghold? Where are they gathering their forces?" The Vord prisoners remained silent, their gazes fixed on Ethan with a mixture of hatred and resignation. Ethan knew he needed to break through their defenses, to find the answers that could turn the tide of the war. He approached the nearest prisoner, his gaze unwavering. "You can either cooperate or suffer the consequences," he said, his tone firm. The Vord prisoner remained stoic, refusing to yield. Ethan's jaw clenched in frustration, but he refused to give up. He turned to his team, a determined glint in his eyes. "We'll find a way," he said, his voice filled with resolve. "We'll break them one way or another." With renewed determination, Ethan led his team back to their ship, their mission far from over. The Vord may have thought they had won this battle, but Ethan Steele was determined to prove them wrong. As the ship lifted off from the Vord warship, Ethan's thoughts turned to the future. The war may have taken its toll, but he refused to let it break him. With each victory, with each obstacle overcome, he grew stronger, more determined than ever to lead his people to victory. For Ethan Pierce, the battle against the Vord was far from over. But as long as he stood at the helm, as long as he had his team by his side, he knew they would emerge victorious in the end. But Ethan could sense the tension in the air, the weight of his words hanging between them. The tension stretched as the tenors exchanged glances, their movements almost imperceptible. Finally, one of them, slightly taller than the rest, stepped forward. "Admiral Pierce, your words carry weight," the tenor said, its voice resonating through the chamber. "We understand the threat that the Vord pose, not just to your species, but to all life in the galaxy." Ethan nodded, relieved that his message had gotten through. "We need your assistance in this fight," he continued. "Your knowledge, your technology. It could be the key to turning the tide against the Vord." The tenor regarded Ethan for a moment, its oval eyes seeming to bore into his soul. Then, with a graceful movement, it raised its hand, palm facing outward. "We will aid you, Admiral Pierce," it declared, "for the sake of all life in the galaxy." A wave of relief washed over Ethan as the other tenors echoed their agreement. Finally, he had gained allies in the fight against the Vord, allies who could provide invaluable support in their battle for survival. "Thank you," Ethan said, his voice filled with gratitude. "Together, we will stand against the darkness, and together, we will emerge victorious." As the tenor nodded in acknowledgement, Ethan felt a renewed sense of determination coursing through his veins. With the support of the tenors, there was nothing they couldn't accomplish. The battle against the Vord was far from over, but with allies at their side, they stood a fighting chance. With a final nod to the tenors, Ethan turned and strode out of the chamber, his mind already racing with plans for the battles that lay ahead. The war against the Vord would be long and difficult, but with allies like the tenors by their side, Ethan knew that they would prevail. Compromised, the fleet moved with precision and purpose their strikes. Methodical and devastating, Ethan's heart pounded with each success. Each factory destroyed was a blow to the Vord's war effort, a step closer to victory. As the last factory went up in flames, Ethan felt a surge of triumph wash over him. They had done it. They had dealt a crippling blow to the Vord war machine. But there was no time to celebrate. The battle was far from over. Fall back, Ethan ordered, his voice steady and commanding. Let's regroup and prepare for the next phase. The fleet withdrew from Vord space, slipping back into the shadows like phantoms disappearing into the night. Back on the Dauntless, Ethan stood proudly on the bridge, watching as his crew worked tirelessly to secure their victory. We've dealt a significant blow to the Vord, Ethan announced to his crew. But we can't afford to rest on our laurels. The war is far from over, and the Vord will undoubtedly retaliate. His officers nodded in agreement, their expressions resolute and determined. They knew that the battle was far from won, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the Dauntless slipped back into Alliance territory, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in what they had accomplished. They had struck a decisive blow against the Vord, and they had shown the galaxy that humanity and its allies were not to be trifled with. But even as he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, Ethan knew that there was still much work to be done. The war against the Vord was far from over, and he would continue to lead his fleet with the same determination and resolve that had brought them this far. With a final glance at the stars stretching out before him, Ethan turned his gaze back to the task at hand. The war raged on, and he was determined to see it through to its end, no matter the cost. Stood Ethan, flanked by his officers, his face a mask of determination. Around him, representatives from every corner of the galaxy awaited his words, their eyes fixed on him with a mixture of hope and apprehension. My fellow beings, Ethan began, his voice strong and unwavering. Today we stand on the precipice of a new era. An era of peace, cooperation, and unity. The room fell silent as Ethan spoke, his words resonating with each and every listener. He spoke of the sacrifices made, the battles fought, and the victories won. He spoke of the need to put aside old grievances and work together towards a better future for all beings. As we move forward, Ethan continued, let us not forget the lessons we have learned. Let us remember that it is together as one unified force that we are strongest, and let us never lose sight of the hope that guides us. With his speech concluded, Ethan raised his fist in a salute, a symbol of solidarity and determination. Around him, the room erupted into applause, cheers, filling the air as representatives from every race and species joined together in celebration. As Ethan looked out over the crowd, he felt a sense of pride and optimism wash over him. The road ahead would not be easy, but with unity and determination, anything was possible. And so, with his hand raised in salutation to the gathered masses, Ethan Pierce, Supreme Commander of the Allied forces, led the galaxy into a new era of peace and prosperity. Recruits stood in precise formation, a testament to the unity Ethan had fostered. At one end, human Marines practiced close combat, while Vord soldiers mirrored their movements just steps away. Instructors barked commands, their voices bouncing off the steel walls, as observers from various planets watched with a mix of skepticism and hope. Ethan walked along the rows, taking in the sight of different species training together. Towering above the humans were VDS soldiers, their kitine plates gleaming as they moved in perfect sync with their counterparts. Each movement was deliberate, bringing them closer to a shared understanding of peace. This is it, Ethan remarked to a Vord commander beside him. Not just training soldiers, but building bridges. His words were translated by his collar into clicks and tones, to which the Vord responded with a deep rumbling voice. Later, Ethan sat in the canteen, surrounded by humans and aliens alike. The room echoed with voices and the clatter of plates, filled with the aroma of earth spices mingling with tangy Vord food. Despite the language barrier, camaraderie blossomed as a human shared a joke with a Vord, their laughter filling the air. Over the following months, the peacekeepers became a symbol of unity, standing between factions to prevent border wars. They wore blue helmets emblazoned with an emblem of a handshake encircled by stars, a visual representation of their mission to promote peace. Ethan watched with pride as former enemies learned to coexist, working together to rebuild ravaged planets. Bases became cultural exchanges, fostering understanding and cooperation among species. In this new world, old hatreds were replaced by lessons learned, as the dream of prosperity and survival bonded all. As Ethan stood in the crowded hall of the United Nations, surrounded by representatives from 100 planets, he felt a sense of optimism for the future. Together, they forged a path towards mutual respect and exploration, as the Concord sealed their commitment to unite. Outside, under Earth's vibrant sky, flags waved with vigor, symbolizing the promise of a new alliance, ready to embrace the universe. As Ethan looked up at the stars, they seemed closer than ever before, a beacon of hope for a brighter tomorrow. In the bustling market, a myriad of aromas and sounds filled the air as chefs from Earth and Vord worked side by side, sharing culinary techniques and flavors. A Vord tentacle expertly wrapped a spiced tarantuba, while a human deftly flipped sizzling kara, a local favorite. In one corner, children painted a vibrant mural, each stroke of color telling tales of peace. Their laughter echoed through the market as Ethan joined in, adding his own touches of vibrant green. "These programs are like mortar," Ethan remarked to an alien mother, gesturing towards the mural. "Not just for us, but for our new galaxy." The mother's eyes crinkled in agreement, understanding the significance of their collective efforts. As night fell, the new city came to life, its buildings illuminated with light. Families filled the plazas, musicians played interstellar melodies, blending familiar tunes with exotic sounds. Ethan climbed onto a platform, the crowd cheering his arrival. With a raised hand, he silenced them, proclaiming, "Today, we celebrate the birth of our future, not the end of war. Brick by brick, idea by idea, we shape a galaxy for our children." Amidst the applause and fireworks, Ethan left behind more than just buildings and tools. He planted seeds of a lasting legacy, a testament to humanity's boundless potential. In the midst of celebration, the console lit up with red alerts, signaling imminent danger. Ethan's pulse quickened, not out of fear, but out of resolve. "Status," he commanded sharply, as he received reports of a crisis on Viridia. Viridia, with its soft blues and greens, was on the brink of catastrophe as the air generators malfunctioned, threatening to cause a planet-wide disaster. Ethan sprang into action, directing engineers and scientists to stabilize the situation. Through their concerted efforts, they managed to avert the crisis, but Ethan remained vigilant, knowing that the price of joy was eternal vigilance. Addressing the assembled leaders, Ethan emphasized the need for safeguards and rapid response networks to prevent future disasters. His words resonated deeply, serving as a wake-up call to prioritize life and the future above all else. With systems upgraded and safety protocols in place, Viridia was saved from the brink of destruction. As children played by the generators, their laughter echoed the sound of hope for the future, a future safeguarded by Ethan and the Concord. In the heart of Concord Prime, a vibrant hub of diversity and cooperation, Ethan watched with pride as beings of all shapes and sizes worked together towards a common goal. The steel foundation, symbolizing unity and progress, stood as a beacon of hope for a brighter future. Inside the foundation, experts from various fields collaborated on projects ranging from terraforming dead moons to combating diseases that had plagued their worlds for generations. Music filled the air as musicians showcased their unique cultures, while engineers devised innovative solutions to harness solar energy on a planetary scale. Amidst the bustling activity, an engineer approached Ethan with news of a breakthrough in solar cell technology. With each advancement and collaboration, the galaxy grew closer together, fueled by the spirit of cooperation and unity. Ethan nodded with satisfaction as he walked through the bustling halls, eager young interns from distant star systems hanging on his every word. He spoke of balance, caring for the environment, and hope for a better tomorrow. On a grand stage, facing a sea of faces, Ethan announced, "Today, we launched the Steel Voyager," his voice resounding with pride. The crowd erupted in cheers as screens showed the sleek ship leaving port, ready to explore unknown territories and forge connections between distant worlds. As friends, not conquerors, Ethan declared, emphasizing the mission's focus on peace and prosperity for all within the Concord. As the triple sun set over Concord Prime, the Foundation remained active, a testament to Ethan's unwavering commitment to maintaining peace and prosperity. The shuttle descended through the clouds, and Ethan watched as the new planet came into view, its lush, untouched landscapes stretching out below. Stepping onto the soft earth, Ethan addressed the team behind him, emphasizing their role as not just settlers but protectors of this new world. Solar panels unfolded, harnessing the planet's natural energy, while wind turbines began to spin, all without harming the environment around them. In the evenings, Ethan met with colony leaders, discussing plans for sustainable living and environmental stewardship. The colony thrived, with families planting native flora and engineers ensuring that their practices aligned with the planet's natural balance. At the Interstellar Combat Academy, Ethan instilled in young squads the importance of leadership and the values of the Concord. He shared lessons from past conflicts and guided them through rebuilt planets, showcasing the positive impact of their actions. Through his influence, the squads became leaders themselves, embodying Ethan's courage, unity, and compassion as they worked to shape the future of the Concord. These squads, hailing from various worlds, grew into peacemakers, their impact spreading like ripples in a pond. Once a war hero, Ethan Steele had evolved into the architect of lasting peace. His vision was now carried forward by hands that sought to build, not destroy. Kellen sat across from Admiral Steele at the plain metal table, her recorder positioned between them. She observed his every movement, noting the clank and hiss of the ship filling the silence. "When did you realize you were making a difference?" Kellen's tone was businesslike. Her task was to shape his life into an inspiring narrative. Pierce gazed past her, watching the streaking stars outside the window. "It was when I saw the Vidian kids playing where there used to be only ashes," he replied. Nodding, Kellen made notes in her device. For months, she had collected accounts of battles, now transformed into tales of peace taking hold. The book, Duty's Horizon, quickly became a bestseller, laying bare Pierce's unwavering dedication from firefights to silent diplomacy. Kellen's words cut through with clarity, tracing his journey from soldier to peacemaker. It became required reading in schools, fodder for debates on the cost of peace. Volunteers signed up to serve the new world Steele had championed. His advocacy for settlements and cooperation shaped their endeavors. One quiet night, Steele wandered through the conquered gardens, where a statue of him stood amidst inscribed quotes. Watching youths gathered around, reading from his memoir, Steele realized his legacy extended beyond his past deeds. It lived in every individual inspired to dream of a better universe. His story now belonged to them, guiding them towards unity and service. He had ignited a fire that would burn across the stars for generations to come. A message arrived from the Zara Queen, secured in layered encryption. Each word verified, it invited Admiral Ethan Steele to their planet as a symbol of the new peace. History was in the making. Ethan considered the alien writing on the screen, the weight of the future settling on his shoulders. As his ship ventured into Zara territory, tension mounted. Eyes watched the human who had defeated them in war yet extended an olive branch of peace. Stepping onto Zara soil, Ethan felt the unfamiliar texture beneath his feet, the air thick with alien musk. Bowing slightly, he reciprocated the formal greetings. In the Great Hall, Ethan and Zara scholars convened around a circular table, sharing tales of triumphs and lessons learned. Cultural exchange flourished as Ethan attended Zara concerts and admired their intricate art. The exchange of knowledge and ideas marked a new chapter in intergalactic relations. The air reverberated with symphonies of chittering and drums as Ethan recounted Earth's blue oceans and diverse life, capturing the audience's imagination. As the visit drew to a close, Ethan and the Queen addressed the crowd, unveiling plans for a joint research base, met with murmurs of approval rippling through the mass. "You've opened a door," the Queen remarked as they toured the proposed facility grounds, emphasizing the importance of cooperation for the future. Ethan nodded, watching the twin suns set on the horizon. "Let this be the foundation of unity," he declared, echoed by the crowd. As the shuttle doors closed behind him, Ethan faced the silent expanse of space ahead, feeling the connections resonating within. From the planet behind him, an unimaginable alliance forged in peace marked this historic visit. The Queen's farewell echoed in his ears, her message clear. The galaxy was changing, built on mutual understanding and respect. In his office, Ethan stood by the big window, still clad in his dress uniform, gazing at planet Earth and the clouds far below. The room was sparse, with only a metal desk, a few chairs, and shelves adorned with medals and memorabilia from his years in space. Here, he chose to announce his step down, away from the public eye, accompanied only by his aide Luna and the leaders that mattered. Entering the conference room, Ethan addressed the weary yet determined leaders of different species gathered around the table. "I'm not your commander anymore," he began, emphasizing his new role as an advisor in the pursuit of peace. "I didn't walk this path alone," he acknowledged, recognizing the collective effort that brought humanity to stand equal with all species. "I see a future where Earth still leads in our values," Ethan asserted, his voice resolute. "Even as I step back, our institutions stay strong. Our leaders will keep our vision alive," he assured, emphasizing the enduring promise of unity and strength against any adversity. Leaving the conference room, Ethan made his way to the hangar bay, where young squads from diverse backgrounds stood in neat rows, saluting him with precision. With a final salute, Ethan imparted his wisdom to the next generation, entrusting them with the duty to uphold the concord and carry forward his legacy of peace.